Hey guys, welcome back to Heaven's Secret 2. Okay, and I have three things. One, I am not done with my replay of Heaven's Secret 1. So those changes are not going to be reflected in here, whatever happens this episode. So don't look for that. However, those changes, I will record and show you what I've done differently in Heaven's Secret 1, what I'm going to do differently in the first couple episodes of this story, and because I'm going to do a pivot. And so the stuff that I choose in this episode is not going to be the same that I'm going to choose next episode, probably, depending on what happens. Yeah, but I will show you all that in the beginning of the next episode. Probably sometime next weekend when I'm done with all the clicking to get through Heaven's Secret 1, because it'd be a lot of clicking and it takes a long time to replay all of that. And I think my last thing, 3, is that I am not ready for this. And I have a mixture of points. Is there even I know there's a balanced path for Heaven's Secret 1. Is there a balanced path for this one, or no? Let me know before I get too far. I don't think so. But I'm not sure, because it looks like I have a little mix of what's temper and what was it? Peace, composure, I think. And I don't know what I got going on here, but yeah, I think I'm a little bit all over the place with this one. So yeah, I need a replay anyway. I think I was just clicking stuff, I think, last time. I don't know. Okay, let's get back to depression. Okay. We're fine. Fact. Immortals can control their body temperature, their pain threshold, and dull the sensations of hunger and thirst. I was always a restless child. I couldn't sit still, so I surrounded myself with wild and restless boys just like me. I climbed trees, explored abandoned buildings, and jumped from a rope swing while screaming my lungs out. I was always at the center of things, sometimes as a cause of all kinds of misunderstandings. I see nothing's changed. Unfortunately, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed in heaven. Plague's Ball. We're gonna be dancing? Oh boy. Angels and Demons Academy. I forgot if they're still at the school. The first thing I felt was a migraine. And there was a dull, aching pain in my chest, but it wasn't physical. Oh, right. Now I remember. At the end of the last one, I was crying because, yeah, the whole thing with her father. That was rough. Yeah. I was still half asleep, enjoying a few moments of oblivion. But when the memories returned, sorrow crashed down on me like an avalanche of torment. It's all real. Someone touched my hand. I shuddered, watching with horror as a silhouette by the bed leaned over me, her face revealed by the moonlight. You're awake. How long were you sitting there waiting for me to wake up? How weird. Go away. Lucifer said you did it. That you killed your father. I sharply turned my head towards her. I wanted to say that it wasn't true, but I stopped myself in time. Yeah. Be careful there. Why did Lucifer lie to her? To help you out? It was supposed to be your assignment? The thought of him sent a shiver of disgust through me. Don't do him like that. Now I can only see him as the murderer of the person dearest to me. Nah. You deserve a reward, my favorite toy. I prepared some lovely outfits for you to wear to the ball. I won't go. Now you have a choice, love. I turned away, staring lifelessly out the window. I feel like that little rat on her shoulder has more freedom than we do. Plague squeezed my wrist sharply, and it was only by some miracle that I managed to hold in a cry. You have it all wrong. That wasn't a suggestion. I'm expecting you there with everyone else. She got up and added as she reached the door. Don't make me drag you by force. After Plague left, I slid off the bed and walked barefoot to the bathroom. I freshened up and returned to the room. Some neatly folded dresses lay on the chair. I just stood there, staring at them and letting my thoughts run wild until I heard students' voices and hurried steps along the hallway as they headed for the ball. Then my hands, feeling as if they didn't belong to me, pulled off my clothes and began to put on the outfit. My movements were mechanical, automatic, devoid of joy or sorrow. My shock at what had happened was so deep my emotions had entirely burned out, like a bulb that burst from too much power. The last button was fastened, and the last strand of hair was adjusted. I was ready. Okay. Stop with that one. Alright. When it was time to go, I felt weak and exhausted. I knew that once I stepped out of the room, I'd have to pretend to be strong, smile, and act as if I wasn't crushed. Carefully lifting my skirt, I sat on the floor and folded my hands in prayer. But there was no one to pray to. Jeez. Tears flowed down my cheeks. I'm not gonna cry this episode, no. I suddenly realized that I couldn't feel anything at all. I tried to summon the joy of knowing that my friends had been returned to life, but I didn't feel anything. Plague had already sucked everything good out of me. Did we lose anyone at the end of... I know a lot of people could have died. I can't remember if we lost anyone. I think Dino might have died. Maybe, but I feel like I saved a lot of people last time. I'd become a shadow of who I used to be. The long imprisonment, all the torture and humiliation had left their marks. I stubbornly wiped away my tears. I'll use this to survive. For now, I have to focus on survival. It's gonna be the theme of this whole story, probably. I don't know. But most likely. I got up again, straightened my skirts and hair, and left my refuge. Not much of a refuge, though, when she could just waltz in there and be standing over you when you wake up in the morning. Like, yeah, your face was definitely the first thing I wanted to see when I woke up. Plague had restored a hall that had hosted neither music nor young waltzing couples for a long time. Once the hall had been abandoned and forgotten, only the sun's rays penetrated inside, and only the wind sang within its walls. But the dust was brushed away, candles were lit, and laughter was heard again. Once, I brought Bont here. I hid him away from everyone. Those are happy times. Oh, that's this place? Oh, man. That was the whole reason I romanced Melbont, because I was hoping for more. We never got that. It was like, oh, that person? Yeah, no. We don't even get, like, even a hint. Yeah. Now, hundreds of eyes were riveted on Melbont. He no longer needed to hide. I slowly walked forward. The students were already dancing enthusiastically, but I could see tension and even fear on their faces. That said, there was also those who looked quite happy. I moved on, noticing how angels and demons shunned me. They only glanced at me before turning away as if I weren't significant enough to warrant their attention. I despised them for that. I rose above it. No. This weak, insignificant creature still dared to call themselves immortal. They were no better than ordinary humans living on Earth. Their powers and abilities had lost their significance as soon as someone more powerful appeared on the horizon. I wasn't the only outcast. All the unclaimed suffered the same fate. As Plague had declared, we were second-class beings now, regardless of the role we played before. Everything had changed. The ones who swore allegiance to Plague were put on a pedestal. They could believe the unclaimed and behave in ways that no one at the academy had been allowed to before. The twins cornered a young woman and, chuckling, plucked feathers from her gray wings. Another unclaimed was leaning against the wall. His lip was split. I doubted that his opponent had received a retaliatory blow. And here, ooh, she's so pretty. Mimi looked at me with a pity that felt almost suffocating. How are you? Edie and Sammy touched my shoulders and said a few comforting words. I'm trying not to think about it. Lucifer entered the hall. He looked the crowd over before slowly moving towards the dancers. Asshole. Sammy clasped Edie's hand and gently looked into his eyes. You better not interfere. Don't let that on him. Yeah, Sammy is one who definitely dead for a long time. I think, yeah, Edie was dead too. Edie's furious gaze tracked Lucifer. He'll pay for what he did. I was silent. I took a glass of glyph and, slowly sipping it, looked around the hall. I blinked a lot, trying to banish my tears. Wanting to change the topic, I asked, do you know those twins? They're half-breeds. Yes, but how is that possible? Looks like they were born when the law still forbade unions between angels and demons. It looks that way. But where have they been all this time? Eddie took my glyph and once he finished it, concluded. Hiding, obviously. At least, I haven't seen them before. And you? I didn't see them. Me neither. How did they get here? Did Plague invite them? Maybe. They seem like the calmest ones here, as if they know a little more than the rest. Maybe I should get closer to them? I'm gonna walk around a little. If you're thinking about going to them, you better not. They don't look too friendly. Plague may say our past don't mean anything anymore, but I remember who I am and what I've achieved. They don't scare me. I mean, you don't have to be scared of them, but I mean, you should take precaution. You're not really in a stable position right now. Oh my god. Okay. A serious coughing fit. My goodness. It's not over. It's not over. Okay. Trudge ahead. Quickly. Leaving them, I approached the twins. They had already let the woman leave, having enjoyed enough of her tears, and were whispering to each other, their eyes narrowed as they looked around the hall. Hello, my name is Melody. We know who you are. Angel. You fought with Malbon against Shefa. You became a counselor. I wonder if you aligned yourself with darkness because you wanted to, or because you were afraid Malbon would kill you otherwise. No, brother. If she were timid, she would have been licking the horsewoman's feet a long time ago. I wouldn't mind her licking mine. Not gonna happen. Be patient, brother. You know the gifts will be given out today. The words disgusted me, but I didn't show it. You're so brave. I wonder where you were before the law of segregation was abolished. The twins looked at each other, and before they could think of a response, I asked, what are your names? My name is Christopher. The other one reluctantly muttered, Astaroth. May I ask you a couple of questions? Astaroth leered at me, grinning obscenely. And what's in it for us? What should I say? You shouldn't forget who you're talking to. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Oh. Maybe you've earned Plague's favor, but do you really believe she cares about you? Even without my powers and ranks, I still have connections. Trust me. If I want to, I can arrange for someone to pluck your feathers. Can you? Despair is losing its power over you. We could do that to you right here and now. Astaroth only laughed in response, stopping his brother. Don't touch her. I like her attitude. Oh boy. This girl is certainly rowdy. Oh. There's so much to talk about her. There was so much to talk about her. I was expecting to be disappointed. Okay, ask away. What do you want to know? What should I ask then? Where were you hiding? Connection? How'd you get here? Let's start with this one. Connection. She's in charge now with her faithful followers. How could you swear your loyalty to her? She's a monster. Well, they are too, honey. We were considered monsters too. So what? We lived Astaroth. What? We don't have anything to hide. It's allowed now. We lived in hell. With whom? Here and there. Father moved us from place to place until the law was abolished. Where is he now? Who, our father? Damned if I know. Plague found us. She invited us to the academy. We weren't allowed to study here before. Nobody knew about our existence, but now... Why do you think she invited you? The twins looked at each other and just shrugged. I turned and looked around for Mimi, Sammy, and 80. Noticing them in the crowd, I said to the twins, I have to go. Thank you for the fascinating conversation. I was about to leave, but Astaroth grabbed my hand and pulled me towards him. Well, that's not interesting. That's all. It's not every day that we get to talk with a star such as yourself. Let me go. I don't think so. I tried to break free, but he held me tightly. Christopher touched his brother's shoulder. Astaroth. He's looking at us. I followed his gaze. Plague, dressed in a chic dress, was walking arm in arm with Melbont. He was accompanying her to the ball like a true gentleman. Plague waved to everyone and smiled while Melbont looked straight at us with a serious expression. With just a glance, he made his attitude towards the twins' actions understood. Astaroth immediately released me. Okay, get out of here. Apparently this star is promised to someone else. What do you mean, promised? You'll see. I ran my hand over where Astaroth had touched, as if brushing him away any trace of him. As I returned to the group, endless questions rained down on me. What were you talking about? Are they as awful as I thought? Yes. I hope they didn't touch you. Too late. I told them everything I had learned, but there were a few details. Plague, with her head held high, walked the entire length of the hall, appearing before everyone to make an announcement. Thank you for coming. This is a great evening. Okay, listen. We hate her, but she killed it. She's styling. I'm telling you. We will do great, terrible things together. And to mark the beginning of our journey, I want to give you a gift. I noticed how the twins grinned wickedly at each other. From now on, immortals can also have toys for themselves, but they may only choose from among the unclaimed. What? The law of segregation you used to have was devilishly boring, but it added a little spice. Therefore... She paused and looked coyly at Melbont, but noticing that he didn't even look at her, she rolled her eyes and turned to us again. Therefore, I want the immortals to choose who they will be together with. I want the strong to be with the strong and the weak to be with the weak. I love chaos, but chaos is stronger when you can control it. Then it's not chaos? Chaos is something you just kind of maybe unleash. By definition, you can't really control it. I think that's gonna be her downfall, trying to control chaos. She brought her palms together and pressed them to her cheek, happily awaiting our reactions. Most didn't seem pleased about this announcement, but that seemed to be exactly what Plague was aiming for. She took one of the chairs, which creaked as she dragged it to the center of the hall, and sat down. I'll choose some of the pairs myself. Dino? She found him in the crowd and nodded her head. He slowly approached her. Princey and I consulted and decided that Lilu would be perfect for you. Didn't they have like a thing that kind of fizzled and became a problem? Of course. Well, where are you? Come out. Several students parted to let Lilu through. She bowed to Plague. Does she always look like that? I'm gonna find out when I finish my replay, but this is a great honor for me, mistress. From now on, you and Dino will belong to each other. I'll make sure you're faithful, or else. Dino lowered his head. Yes, mistress. Now, get out of my sight. I have a lot more couples planned. Lilu held out her hand to Dino. He hesitated but took her hand, and together they disappeared into the crowd. Play continued to select pairs of natural-born immortals. We need to go up there too. What? Why? Eddie grabbed Sammy's shoulders and looked intensely in his eyes. What if she chooses other partners for us? What if she separates us? For a while, Sammy looked at Eddie with both sadness and fear, but then he nodded in agreement. You're right. Good luck, boys. They went out to Plague, bowed their heads, and asked to be recognized as a couple. The horsewoman laughed and waved her hand. An angel and a demon. Guys, I like it. I'll allow it. Thank you, mistress. Thank you, mistress. My heart was overjoyed for them. Death had separated them, but they were together again, and officially. Plague approved their union, and they would no longer need to hide their feelings, fearing that the horsewoman might punish them for their love. Love makes us stronger, but love makes us vulnerable. But she robbed me of that opportunity. I'm curious what this one gives you. Which one would be temper or composure here? I guess temper is also about maybe kind of boldly making declarations, which is kind of the first one. And this one has like a hint of caution in it, which might be more composure. Let's find out. Okay. Okay, I think I'm getting it. Not just angry, but also just kind of boldness, straightforwardness, I guess. It gives us joy even on the cloudiest days. Uh-oh. More coffee. Some couples were denied the chance to be together. Once most of the immortals had been paired off, Plague moved on to the unclaimed. She gave them away like precious gifts. Many were tempted by the idea of owning a slave. You can do whatever you want with your toy, but others have no right to touch it. Unless you let them, of course. Plague exhibited us like items up for auction. You keep saying us, but is she still an unclaimed? Or maybe they said that she was again in the beginning of this one. I can't remember. Someone came out with their head bowed and asked for a pet, to which Plague jumped up exclaiming, "Sold!" When Athros emerged from the crowd, Plague graciously said, "Choose any of them." "You're so generous, mistress." "Then Melody." "No." Lively whispers spread through the hall. A few more came forward, interested in me. Plague cast a displeased glance in my direction. Why are you displeased? No. This little pet is already taken. By me. Find yourself another one. I didn't dare to argue with the horsewoman. I didn't know whether to rejoice or to be horrified by the idea that I'd be Plague's slave and not asked her. You're already Plague's slave, honey. Nothing has changed. But as the noise subsided, Lucifer suddenly approached Plague. He bowed on one knee and said, Mistress, give her to me. The amount of animosity flared his way. What is he doing? To you? What for? We've known each other since our time at the academy. I know how to treat her so that she'll be overcome by true despair. Let me prove my devotion to you. I promise I'll see it through to the end. Plague turned to me. What did you say? I won't be your slave. Lucifer didn't even look at me. He continued to look at Plague. Mistress, would you do me this honor? The horsewoman didn't take her eyes off me. Then her lips slowly spread into a smirk of anticipation. I will. But mistress! Lucifer would do his job, that I'm sure of. Plague stood up, approached Lucifer, and poking his chin with the fingernail, added quietly, He doesn't want to disappoint me, right? That's right, mistress. I couldn't breathe. The room suddenly felt so stuffy that it made my head spin. But I have a few conditions. Of course. You give her to me on demand, and you won't remove her chains. Dino stepped out from the crowd. What's the point of the chains if she doesn't have any power, mistress? Lucifer looked at Dino over his shoulder. They needed as a reminder that she's not free, so she understands how far she has fallen, having lost her power. In shackles, her despair will be sweeter. Plague squealed with delight. I told you he could handle it. Done. Melody is yours now. This can't be happening. Lucifer finally allowed himself to look at me, and I didn't like his expression. I kind of like it, I'll be honest. As for Mimi, we'll give her to Christopher. How is she an unclaimed? Maybe I'm confused about... So was Dino the unclaimed in the Lilu situation, or... I don't remember. I rushed to Mimi and squeezed her in my arms as if that could save her from the fate that Plague decreed. Damn her. But mistress, Mimi's a natural-born immortal. Her parents ran away. Someone must be punished, no? I won't be anyone's slave. You will if you don't want to die. Christopher bowed to the horsewoman. Thank you for such a generous gift, mistress. Before we had time to come to our senses, Plague jumped up from her throne and, taking Malbon by the hand, dragged him to an open part of the hall. And now, dancing. Maestro. Music began to play. The high-pitched chords sounded like a taunt to me. The strings played on my nerves, and the stomp of feet trampled my soul to mush. Malbon bowed to Plague, took her by the waist, and they spun in a dance as if inviting others to follow their lead. I stood in the center of the hall, feeling dizzy, while couples waltzed around me. We won't let anyone hurt you, girls. If Christopher or Lucifer dare hurt you, we won't let it slide. I'm sick of tonight. Can we leave? I think that's the best thing we can do. As soon as we headed for the door, Christopher approached Mimi. Since we're on the same team now, will you dance with me? Over my dead body. I can arrange that. I got between them. Mimi doesn't want to dance with you. Nobody asked her. Lucifer stood behind Sammy and 80. They immediately turned around. From their faces, it was clear that one more word was all it would take to start a fight. Lucifer silently held out his hand to me. I stared at his open palm, searching for an escape route with even a 20% chance of success. Guessing my intentions, he said, "You belong to us now. If you have any brains at all, you'll realize that it's better not to argue." Mimi angrily turned to him. "Lucifer, what's wrong with you? You weren't like that. As a kid, you weren't like that." "What about in the womb?" Sammy touched his elbow in an almost friendly way. "Let them go, please." "No." Lucifer grabbed my arm and pulled me towards the rest of the dancers. I turned around and saw Christopher dragging Mimi with him. She no longer resisted, but her face was so pale, lifeless, and sad that even Christopher was taken aback. He said something to her, put his arm around her waist, barely touching her skin, and then they disappeared among the others. "Am I that uninteresting to you?" I looked at Lucifer. "What?" "You should at least keep your eyes on me until the dance is over, for the sake of decency." He tightened his grip on my waist. "What decency are you talking about? You disgust me. You killed my father and you dare talk about decency? You might not want to shout that out loud, honey." Lucifer shook his head vaguely. His gaze began to wander somewhere above my head. Plague's shrill, wild laugh came from nearby. She was obviously enjoying her dance with Malbon. He looked like a statue, unemotional, unhearing, and oblivious to any rhythm. But the couple suddenly began to change partners. Like gears shifting places, the ladies ended up in the arms of other gentlemen. What should I do? I have ideas. Let me see. I looked around in search of freedom. Now what? As everyone changed partners, Malbon happened to be the nearest immortal. Without hesitation, he released Plague's hand and, grabbing mine, pulled me along. From the corner of my eye, I noticed Lucifer and the horsewoman both stopping and staring in confusion. Suddenly, Malbon's body began to answer the music's call. Rather than the stiff dancing he'd done with Plague, he showed a different level of skill with me. Before I had a chance to come to my senses, he took the lead. I looked timidly into his eyes, drowning in the darkness of his pupils, and surrendered, feeling somehow compelled to do so. Malbon's gaze showed neither mercy nor compromise. Encircled by his arms, I couldn't find the courage to confront him. "Are you afraid of me?" He sounded displeased, almost disappointed. "Everyone is afraid of you. But you weren't afraid. At least not like the others." "I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of dying." "Do you think I'll kill you?" "I don't know. I don't know anything anymore." Malbon's back was straight and tense. His open palm rested on my shoulder blades, pressing lightly, guiding, and holding me. The hem of my dress became tangled around my legs from my quick steps as we moved around the hall. Other couples had to part before us to avoid a collision. Malbon didn't even look at them. He was devouring me with his eyes. However, his gaze wasn't filled with love, it was probing. As if he wanted to delve into my soul and discover my thoughts. I found the strength to turn away from him and break eye contact. "Why did you surrender to Plague? Are you scared too?" "I'm not afraid of her. I'm driven by hatred, not despair." "Hatred for whom?" Malbon twirled me around, then stopped for a moment, gazing into my eyes. And again, he led me across the hall, cutting through the crowd of dancers like a juggernaut incapable of retreat. "You're too weak to survive in the new world. And you've gotten stronger. You still have mixed blood running through your veins." We were so close to each other that at times his chin brushed my forehead from a careless moment. It was barely a perceptible touch that lasted only a moment, but it was enough to set off a wave of horror in me, along with something else that I hadn't yet recognized. He wasn't someone I should trust with my heart. I should stay away from him. You're right. What? Malbo didn't answer, but his look told me everything. I was terrified. I wanted to get away, but he didn't allow me. Did you read my mind? You're thinking too loudly. He slipped into my head so deftly, so delicately, that I didn't even feel it. How often did he do that? Just this time. Stop it. Why are you doing this? You and I remain connected, Melody. He twirled me again. I held my breath and surrendered to the power of his movements. The whole world would burn, Melody. Would that make you happy? Only in one case. The violins and piano played in a frenzy, bringing the piece toward its inevitable conclusion. Our dance was coming to an end. Malbon stretched out his arm, forcing me to turn sideways to him. Then he brought his arm back, turning me so my back was pressed against his body. Feeling his breath right above my ear, I whispered softly, "Which case would make you happy?" Malbon turned me around again, pulled me towards him, and bent me so low that the ends of my hair touched the floor. Our faces froze an inch apart. Malbon opened his mouth, and I believe he wanted to kiss me, but instead he whispered, almost touching his lips to mine, "The case where the one I want dead dies, and the one I want to save lives." He straightened up, dragging me with him. The music stopped. Malbon's hand slid down my back and then pulled away. He bowed and finally said, "You'd think more carefully if you want to survive." And then he disappeared into the dispersing crowd of students. Embarrassed for some reason and also flushed with excitement, I rushed away, wanting to find Edie, Sammy, and Mimi. I stopped to catch my breath, ran my trembling hands over my hair, and straightened my skirts. Looking around with agitation, I tried to spot Malbon. I wasn't planning to die. Thanks for the advice. Edie and Sammy danced along with the others. When the music stopped, we found each other. Sammy's cheeks were red from dancing, and Edie still couldn't catch his breath. Surprisingly, they looked happy. There's nothing surprising about it, honestly. They're happy they finally get to be together, even in the midst of all this. Ugh. I see you're starting to like it here. It's not like that. Edie intertwined their hands. We lost each other, and now we found each other again. Let me enjoy it. Mimi rolled her eyes, took a sip of Glyph, and stared at Plague. She sat on her throne, her hands on the armrests, and looked at the surrounding students like a queen surveying her people. Malbon slowly returned to Plague and stopped behind her. He was staring at something in the hall. I followed his gaze. Kira, frightened and shy, clung to Miss Alina. Malbon bent down and whispered something to Plague. Her gaze also darted to the young immortal. "Kira, come to me." Plague beckoned her with a finger. Miss Alina had to release the child into the clutches of the horsewoman. "Come, sit." Plague's oily tone was even more ominous than her cold command. Kira trembled at the request, but did as she was told and sat on the horsewoman's lap. Plague seemed uneasy and uncomfortable with holding a child in her arms. She moved Kira so that she could see the hall. Fincio was talking with Dino. Dino was holding his hand as if to stop him, but Fincio said something and Dino let him go. "I hope you've got news for me." Fincio bowed to the horsewoman. "Yes, mistress. I've learned how to get rid of the abilities to influence and block off the mind." "And how is that?" "These powers are acquired through a special tattoo. To get rid of the tattoo's effect, it must be cauterized with blue fire, and a new one must be applied over the wound." Isn't that my ability? Oh boy. I'm fine. Once again, Plague easily found me in the crowd. Let's start with her. Bring her to me. I rushed through the crowd towards the exit, but before I could Hadn't even taken a few steps, Malbon appeared in front of me. I bumped against his chest, lifted my head in fright, and met his icy gaze. Go back. How does he move so fast? He took a step forward, forcing me to retreat again and again. In the end, I had to turn back and approach Plague. She gave me a patronizing look and lazily said, "Now your little head will always be open to me." It's so tiring to wade through a maze of strong defenses. She leaned a little closer. What's it like, losing the last of your powers? I'll survive. No matter what, I'll survive. Plague beckoned Fincia with her finger. Are you ready? Yes, mistress. She stood up and addressed the students. You'll witness a rite that everyone with the ability to influence minds or defend against such influence will undergo. Anyone who tries to avoid it will be executed. Plague nodded to Fincia. You can proceed. Someone behind me grabbed my hands and twisted them behind my back. I tried to escape, but it was all in vain. The shackles must be removed for the duration of the ritual. Plague made a point of sighing. Well, if you insist. Fincia looked into my eyes with a strange, open, and yet meaningful look, then removed the iron ring. He did it so sharply that the hinges snapped. Look, you've broken everything. My apologies, mistress. Plague called one of her minions. Bring out another adornment. She paused and added, for her leg. I was seized with sadness. Plague didn't intend to leave me without my collar. She was simply changing its location. Fincia took some blue powder from a bag, poured it into the torch, and turned to Lucifer. Can you help? Lucifer snapped his fingers and a blue flame appeared, flared up. Fincia approached and, after a pause, whispered, This will hurt. He pressed the blazing torch to my skin, piercing with a sharp, unbearable pain. I screamed and my knees buckled. Whoever was holding me let me go. Plague jumped up from her place and rushed towards me, her eyes wide and wild with delight. And now the tattoo. She pressed her hand to the burnt skin. I felt her dark power creeping inside me. I pushed Plague away from me, full of, no, never despair. Resentment, hatred. No resentment. She didn't appreciate the fire in my eyes. Not the emotion I was hoping for. Losing interest in me, she returned to her seat. Bring the others. While I was catching my breath, someone snapped a new iron band around my leg. The rest of my immortal powers, the rest of my energy, were drained away into it. The music stopped. The fun was over for the crowd, but Plague's was just beginning. Among the students, there were only a few immortals with the gift of influence and the power to block off their mind. Then Plague decided to perform the rite on those who didn't need it. She laughed wildly, leaving everyone unsettled, but no one dared to leave. After a while, she leaned back in her chair and wearily waved her hand. Okay, that's enough for today. Maestro, music. The violin played again, but no one had any desire to dance. Why are you standing there? One couple after another hesitantly went to the center of the hall. Voice. The musicians went off-key, playing the wrong notes, and the dancers looked fearfully at Plague as if awaiting her approval. I quietly made my way to the exit, barely aware of what was happening around me. I opened the door and rushed down the hallway. Melody, wait. I leaned against the wall, closed my eyes, and tried to catch my breath. Mimi, Adi, and Sammy ran up to me. Are you okay? I've been better. We'll walk you to your room. Opened my eyes and wearily looked at them. What happens if Plague notices that you're missing? Plague has already had her fun. I don't think she cares about us now. Adi grabbed my arm, helping me down the hall, and cheerfully continued. We can hang out in your room. I think we have a lot to tell each other. We've risen from the dead, and we haven't been honored nearly enough for that. Don't you agree, Mimi? No, yes. I laughed. Yeah. Woohoo! Thanks, Sheffa, you're still with us. Sheffa? Maybe it's... Wait a minute. Hold on. I feel like I remember something about both Sheffa and Sheffa Malam being absolute trash. I don't know. But I feel like that was the case. I don't know. I don't remember that. But maybe it took me by the arm on the other side. We smiled at each other and moved on. Andy shut the doors in my room open and pulled us inside. I'm sorry, my voice is just flip-flopping through the motions. I am sick and the cough is only making it worse. Dibs on the bed. Eddie jumped onto the bed, scattered the pillows, and putting his hand under his head, said dreamily, "It's good to be alive. I just can't get used to it." I sat down next to him and carefully asked, "And how was it?" Sammy sat on the floor, wrapped his arms around his knees, and said, "Cold and weird. You can't think clearly, and you don't remember your past, who you were, or how you died. Yep, you're just kind of there, and that's it." Sounds terrible. Not really. You don't understand what's wrong with you. You don't understand anything. And when you don't understand anything, you don't suffer. Eddie looked at me affectionately. "How are you? What happened while we were gone?" I told them everything that happened. As I went on, they commented, teased, and got angry. Mimi was silent. When the guys were out of questions, I turned to her, trying to unravel the reason for her melancholy silence. "Mimi, is everything okay?" She immediately straightened up, her gaze regained its awareness, and her lips stretched into a faint smile, like a robot being turned on. "I was just thinking. We're together just like before the war broke out and we got separated. What do you think will happen next?" Eddie propped himself up on his elbow. "Hey, don't talk about sad things. Who said that everything's gonna be bad?" Optimistic Sammy. We missed that. It's been a long time, buddy. He died like what, season 1 of Heaven's Secret? Sammy jumped up onto the bed to join Edie. His weight made us bounce up on the bed and our foreheads bumped together. "Hey, be careful." Laughter softened the heavy atmosphere. I leaned back, staring thoughtfully at the ceiling. I dreamed of being with them again. Dreamed of lying around like that, playing and making fun of each other. Who could have known it was possible, with the catch being that our world would be on the verge of apocalypse. When you get something, you have to be ready to pay the price for it. It might be equal, but it erases the joy of what you've obtained. My mom fainted when she saw me, and my parents were crying so much that I almost thought they weren't happy to see me. Mimi laughed. "Do you want to feel better about your parents' reactions?" My family fled so the plague wouldn't get to them. I don't know if my mom is alive or not. Even if she did come back, knowing her, Rebecca might think helping you is unnecessary. Mimi. What? I'm telling the truth. She ain't lying. Mimi joined us on the bed, hugged me and rocked me as if to lull me to sleep. We have each other and that's all that matters. I don't care about the rest. Golden words, little Mimi. Don't call me that. Everyone but Mimi, who was pouting, laughed. Thanks to your friends, your spirit is significantly weaker. I took Mimi and Sammy's hands, laid my head on Edie's thigh, and said, I feel stronger around you. You're my rock and my support. Together we'll get through this nightmare. Now let's hope that she doesn't separate y'all again. Mimi tightened her grip on my fingers. That's right. Mimi treasured you as a close friend. We're taking revenge on Fincia for killing Sammy and drive plague away from our lands, from our world. Do you think we can do that? Edie sighed ruefully. I don't know. To hell with pessimism. We'll manage. He raised his hands toward the ceiling and clenched his fingers into a fist as if focusing all his determination and all his faith in us and himself. We'll do it. We will definitely do it. Mimi recalled how I had been forced to jump from the roof when I first came to the academy. The guys joked and laughed at their own jokes. I listened to their conversations like a ghost whose existence no one suspected. I was there with them, but at the same time, I was somewhere far away, beyond an invisible screen. I thought about how much I loved them, and how happy I was that we received a second chance. I thought of my father, who had been robbed of every chance he had. A tear, lingering on my lashes, rolled down my cheeks. You're not alone, Melody. You can do this. My eyelids grew heavy. I tried to keep my eyes open, and I even offered a few drowsy words. Eventually, though, fatigue got the better of me and I fell asleep. Miss Elena sat at the table, holding sheets of paper in her trembling hands. She was reading postulates that Plague had come up with. All those born on Earth, regardless of any merits or ranks, are henceforth stripped of all honors. From now on, until the end of time, they will be known as unclaimed. Okay. That makes more sense. The unclaimed have no rights. They must have an owner who decides what to do with their toy. And who go against the horsemen will, at best, be punished with demotion to the level of cattle, unclaimed, at worst, death. The further Miss Elena read, the more the paper shook in her hands, and the more often she fell silent to collect herself before continuing. Plague impatiently tore the sheets from her hands, then crushed them and threw them into a corner. She folded her hands behind her back and, swaying her hips, walked down between the rows. Lucifer and Dino weren't studying at the moment. They were off running dirty errands for the horsewoman. Sheffa was the strongest in your world. He locked his brother away in a dungeon. To hell with him. But you didn't know that there were other dimensions. She proudly added, where stronger creatures lived. We can crush your world with one touch, and we'll do it if it's meant to be. The last judgment is coming, and you will all stand before it. Those who walk the earth, those who participate in destructive wars, those who died, and those who stayed alive. The last judgment will decide who deserves to carry on the species, who deserves to carry this world further. But if everything and everyone has been corrupted, the world will burn away without a trace, and I will dance on your bones in a sundress made of devouring flames. She spoke. Oh, goodness. I'm so sick. She spoke with such sinister pleasure that everyone felt uneasy. Kira, sitting in the first row, burst into horrified tears. I'm gonna be honest. Who is the child again? I don't remember. Plague furiously slammed the table. Why do you only feel fear? I'm not preparing you for him. Well, maybe don't scare people. Like, before you get to despair, you have to fear first. Which is probably why he's probably more powerful than you. Most likely. I'm sorry, mistress. Disgusting girl. Plague sat down at the table and beckoned Kira to her. Come on, come here. She set the girl in her lap and rocked her in her arms rather roughly several times. Are you done? Are you not afraid anymore? Kira shook her head uncertainly, wiping her tears. Poor girl. She doesn't know what to think. Imagine you take a child. Are you not afraid? Yeah. She's not winning any Mom of the Year awards, I'm telling you that. I'm sorry, mistress. I'm sorry. Over and over again. Just don't be afraid. Never be afraid of anything. Fear has no power unless you give in to it. Understood? Same with despair. Yes, mistress. Okay. Where was I? I kept a close eye on Plague. Her behavior sparked the beginning of an idea that I couldn't put into words yet. I promised myself I'd think about it later. Fencio entered the room. The sound of his steps rang painfully in my temples. He was so calm, so confident. It's sickening. I feel like there's more going on there, though. And here's your head instructor. You notice the expression on his face when they said that they were bringing out another shackle? I definitely think he broke my shackles on purpose. So, like, something's going on there. Like, Fencio and I may not get along, he may not like me or whatever, but I don't think he likes her either. Tell our students what they will do. Fencio stopped in front of us, upright, unshakable, and said, "You will have to infect people with the plague. Your goal is to cause a pandemic and panic. The contagion needs to spread faster than medicines or treatments can stop the outbreaks." One of the students dared to ask why they should do it. A finger snap, and the immortal's head exploded! The students jumped up from their chairs, some even fainted. Plague's furious voice interrupted their sobs and screams. "Because it needs to be done. Because your mistress said so." I have to be very careful with her. Why is she so cruel? I have to obey her. Certainly not. I was overcome with anger. He just asked a question and she killed him for it? How can you serve her after something like this? She doesn't care about those who contradict her or those who try to be loyal. Well, that's the point, honey. How can you serve her? It's like, she doesn't think about playing the game, the long con. It's not that simple. I don't know. I know there's a certain good idea about just, keep sticking it to them and sometimes whatever, but sometimes you gotta play the long game. The fake it till you make it. I don't know, and it hadn't even occurred to her that they might be faking. I guess it might have occurred to her, but she can't wrap her head around even trying to pretend like she's serving someone like that. Like, that's just not in her at all. She's like, I can't do it. Which is fair. Fencio, as if not paying attention, continued. It's part of the horseman's plan. Part of the cleansing. We must rid the earth of unnecessary people. Only the strongest are worthy of living to see the last judgment. Fencio opened a book. I'll tell you how to quickly and effectively infect people. You'll be split into groups, just like last time. You will be supervised. Look behind you. That is what happens to those who aren't careful. I caught a glimpse of the student's remains from the corner of my eye. His body remained sitting at the desk, and if not for the absence of his head and the blood sucking to his clothes, one might have thought he was still alive. Fencio continued the lecture as if nothing had happened. I barely listened to him. I was scared to move and scared to breathe. Plague's presence evoked pure horror inside me. I was only able to calm down once Plague, finally growing bored, left the room. At the door, she said, "I'll look at your results." And then she disappeared into the hallway. I wasn't the only one who felt better. The students seemed to come to life. Rustles, quiet whispers, and the sounds of stifled tears slowly reached my ears. Finally, Fencio finished his explanation. Now, I'll divide you into groups. Dino, Lilo, and Melody. Why are we in school? Again? You know what? I just need to replay the first episode. Because clearly, I'm completely out of the loop on the lore. Again, I don't know why we're having assignments again. I don't even know. Melody, they're waiting for you at the vortex. You can go. Why did he pair me with them? I didn't ask questions aloud. I just nodded and hurried to the meeting point. Dino and Lulu were talking tensely about something. They stood very close to each other, resembling two lovers. For a moment, I almost thought they were kissing, until I recognized what they were arguing about something, albeit in a whisper. Dino saw me. He looked straight in my eyes and immediately fell silent. I looked away and artfully said, "Fencio's assigned me to your group." "Yes, we know." Lilo moved away from Dino and approached me. "Everything will be fine. Just do what we do, okay?" I wonder where Lilu ended up after the war. What did she do? Maybe she died? I never thought about what became of her. I forgot about her as soon as we parted ways. It's important that we don't rush to infect too many. We need to be obedient soldiers for the mistress, Dino. The more the better. Her tone was sharp, like that of a frustrated parent teaching a child. She barely held back her anger. The swirling vortex is kind of making me nauseous, I'm not gonna lie. There's no reason to hurry. I'm trying not to look at it. Dino jumped into the vortex. Follow us, okay? Keep up. I was left standing at the edge, watching their forms disappear into the swirling clouds. Which side are you on? Melody! Before I could turn around, Mimi squeezed my shoulders and hurriedly whispered, You don't have to do that. Better run. It's disgusting. You'll never forget their eyes. You'll feel like you're interfering with the harmony. Oh, it's terrible, Melody. We've got to go. Christopher grabbed Mimi by the elbow and jumped into the abyss, dragging her with him. Mimi! I rushed after them. I tried to spot them in the whirl, but the vortex carried me to where I was supposed to be. Out of curiosity, is someone... I can't remember if they said before, but is someone controlling the vortex, or it just knows when you have an assignment? And it always takes you to where you need to go? I don't remember, but that in itself is really interesting, isn't it? It spat me out on a busy street. Dino and Lilo were arguing about something again. You can't. What are you trying to prove, and to who? What are you afraid of? Quiet. He turned to me as if preparing to attack. Aren't you having some kind of problem? Everything is fine. We'll do most of the work, and you're coming with us. Lilo took 2 rats out of her pocket. She ran her hand over their heads, and they suddenly twitched as if waking up. Keep the rat to yourself. All you have to do is touch the mortal and move on. This time we're not killing them, we're only affecting them. It'll be more efficient. They'll spread the infection to others. Dino looked desperate. He looked at Lilo like a hunted animal. But what about the harmony? Dino looked at me and said, Don't look at them in the eyes. The mortals, don't look at them while you do this. You only need a few. That'll be enough for plague. It won't be enough for plague. We'll infect people equally. She repeated, Equally. Lilo squeezed a rat in her hand so tightly that it squealed and wriggled, trying to escape from her clenched fingers. Come on. She resolutely approached the nearest person. One touch, then another. She moved like a whirlwind. Lilo couldn't seem to stop. She's working like she doesn't have a heart. She's an angel. No, everyone has a heart. You just have to take a closer look. He approached a passing man. The stranger fell to his knees, and the glimmer of life in his eyes was replaced by the darkness of death. Why did he die? Lilo said that we only infect them. My rat is different. Plague wants to test me. I'll work in the alleys. Last time Mimi and I caused too much chaos with our actions. The news is still full of talk about the mass murder. He spoke slowly, his tongue barely moving as if it took all his strength. They disappear, don't they? Their souls won't come to us in heaven? Dino froze over the course. No. Dino, this is... You have to do it. You have to. Maybe the people you infect will have time to recover. You know they won't. I have to. Complete my task. Dino headed down the narrow passage between the houses. The rat in my hands fidgeted impatiently. My palm was sweaty and the animal's fur felt unpleasantly damp. I gathered my courage and approached the girl. She was walking in front of me so I couldn't see her face, as Dino had advised. I stretched my hand forward and touched her shoulder. The girl stopped, shuddered a second later, and then unsteadily continued on. I wanted to cry from the hopelessness of the situation. At the same time, I was filled with rage towards everyone who was forcing me to be a part of this nightmare. I felt so sorry for all those mortals, unaware of their imminent deaths. My hands were trembling, my heart was pounding, and my thoughts were racing. I was on the verge of a breakdown. I need to calm down. I squatted down, covered my head with my hands, and began to count to 10. My whole body ached in response to the fact that I was interfering with the harmony in such a cruel and destructive way. Or maybe it hurt because I thought it should. I didn't want to kill people. I couldn't. Yet I had to continue, my breathing shaky. The faces of the mortals I touched took on a rosy color. The disease that the horsewoman was spreading was remarkably contagious and lethal. Surely, they would all die before they got to a hospital. There were tears in my eyes. Does Lily feel the same way? When I had no strength left, I angrily threw the rat away from me and wandered along the street, not knowing where I was going. Melody, what are you doing? Dino caught up with me and grabbed my hand. I looked at his fingers, squeezing my wrist, and slowly raised my eyes to his face. I can't take it anymore. This is wrong. There's no more right or wrong. There's only one question you should be asking yourself. He moves closer, almost too close. Do you want your loved ones to survive or not? I took a step back, feeling tears welling up in my eyes. I no longer have loved ones to take care of me or to take care of. Plague took everything from me. Not everything. Not yet. Because there's still 80, Sammy, and Mimi. And 80 and Sammy are happy right now. She could easily destroy that just to teach you a lesson. I turned around and ran down the street. Melody. I managed to run a few hundred feet before I heard a whistle. I stopped, trying to figure out where it was coming from, and then Malbot landed in front of me. The pavement buckled from the force of his landing. Cracks stretched out in a circle like tree branches, almost reaching the driveways leading to houses. You're not going anywhere. I backed away, but after a few steps I stopped, stubbornly continuing to bore into Malbot with my eyes. He slowly walked towards me. Did you really think you could leave? I just have to get out of here. Really? Malbot grabbed my arm like I was a naughty child and pulled me towards him. He glanced at Dino and Lou frozen behind me. Where's Lucifer? She belongs to him now. Frustrated by this reminder, I tried to break free. A living being can't belong to anyone. Is that so? Tell that to all the dogs on leashes scurrying after their owners. He pulled me along. He's not... We're going back. Leave her. Malbot reluctantly turned around. Don't make a mistake you'll regret. She did her job well. She tried to run away and will be punished for it. I pushed him away with all my strength. Breathing heavily, I took a few steps back. You don't have to treat me like a thing. You have to make me go with you. You don't have the strength to fight me. So what? Should I bow before you now, like you all bowed before Plague? Fire flashed in Malbot's eyes. What was it? Respect or perhaps irritation at my stubbornness? But in the end, he just grinned and waved his hand, creating a dark, translucent dome around us. The dome hid us from the eyes of mortals and protected the city from any destruction our fighting might cause. I was silently grateful and satisfied. Malbot knew I didn't stand a chance in a fight with him, yet he acted as if a real battle was coming. Alright, Melody. Have it your way. Malbot released a blast of dark energy at me. Stop! Dino rushed forward but hit the wall of the dome. I dodged the attack by dropping to the ground. The energy crashes the dome, dissipating against its surface. What are you trying to achieve with this? Is the thought that you're now defenseless before the whole world unbearable to you? He was slowly moving towards me. Are you trying to break free like a bug trapped between a person's fingers? Do you think it's possible? Without getting up from the ground, I angrily shouted at him. Yes, I'm trying to do something. He stopped, leaning over me like a mountain, ready to crush me at any moment. You're oblivious, Melody, or foolish if you think you're the only one doing that. He grabbed me by the collar and lifted me off the ground. I hung in the air like a puppy that had been grabbed by the scruff and could only scratch desperately at his hand. There can be no other power in you than mine. You were born as a vessel for the darkness that flows in my veins. But you were deprived of that. From now on, you shouldn't hope to find any other power in yourself. Do you know what humans see as real power? Willpower, resilience, steadfastness, and faith in a person, even when all of humanity isn't worth it. I'm stronger than you, even without your damn darkness. Huh. My mom released his grip and I fell to the ground. I scraped my knees on the pavement and throbbing pain shot through my bones. With the iron ring around my leg, I couldn't even stop the unpleasant tingling, let alone fight back against Malbon. I was wondering about that because at the start of the episode they were like, they can control their pain. I'm like, she's been letting all that pain through though. But it's because her powers are cut off. She doesn't have the power to do that, so she just has to suffer. And yet I felt better than I had before the fight. I felt inner strength and confidence that I could handle whatever would happen. I was my mother's daughter. I had survived the war. I succeeded. And I'd do it again. I don't know if I would say I was my mother's daughter. I would probably say I'm my father's daughter. Your mom is kind of trash. Let's be honest. We're going back. Mama grabbed my shoulders and, opening his wings, soared into the sky. Melody. The wind carried away Dino's cry, and yet it echoed in my ears like a recording for our entire flight through the vortex. Mama led me down the hallway. Neither of us talked or tried to start a conversation. I felt impatience, irritation, and seething power emanating from him, which he was holding back and trying to suppress. So tall, almost enormous, with an icy expression on his face. He seemed even more mysterious than usual. He stopped at one of the doors and, without knocking, flung it open. Go in. What's in there? Without waiting for me to go inside on my own, Melba squeezed my shoulder and firmly, but without any unnecessary cruelty, pushed me inside. I tried to resist, and when he let me go, my inertia landed me on the floor, right at someone's feet. I slowly looked up. You better watch her, Lucifer. What happened? He looked straight into my eyes. She ended up on a mission with Dino. She tried to run away. Mama went to the door, indifferently adding, You must punish her. Okay. Otherwise, you'll be punished. Lucifer chuckled and looked at me again, almost triumphantly. You don't have to worry about that. Lucifer's eyes burned with a strange, furious fire. I fearfully backed away until I bumped against the wall. Oh boy. Hey, just jerking this poor girl along. I'll be honest though, I found this episode kind of hilarious. You notice I was laughing through most of it. Surprisingly, I was laughing a lot more. I don't even know if I was supposed to be laughing that much about it, but just thinking about it just made me laugh. I don't know. Not because I'm like laughing at it. It just, there was some like, to me, I guess some genuinely really funny scenes in there. I don't know. Surprisingly, I mostly had a good time reading it. I'm be honest, I did. So I don't know. As for whole Malbon's and Lucifer's act that they got going on, like I'm not buying it. Like I can see the cracks in between. It seemed like she's struggling to see those cracks, and I can understand her feeling some type of way about Lucifer right about now. But boy doesn't deserve that. Listen, we all know he has problems. Okay, we all know that. But yeah, like her father was gonna. Like, they had to in that moment. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And he kind of had her back by not telling the truth about who actually did it. I don't know. That's really rough, though. Like how do you move past that, though? I don't know. That's rough. But anyway, yeah, that went by. And I need to go rest my throat. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and show the like button to love, subscribe to see more content like this, and I will see you next time, hopefully a lot less sick. Bye!